This is not a tier list. This is definitely not my tier list. If this was my tier list, things would look a lot different. This is a popularity ranking. This is like, the high school popularity contest that you never won. So Tyranitar wins it here. This is the Gen 3 OU usage percentages from last month. So this is every single battle that ever happened in Gen 3 OU on Pokemon Showdown within last month of October 2025. So it doesn't matter what your rating was. It doesn't matter the Pokemon's win rate. This is simply how many times was this person on a team, right? So there was 215,000 battles that took place last month in this format. Well, obviously there's 2 people in a battle. So you take 215,000, you times it by 2, you get 430,000. Out of the 430,000 teams that showed up to play Gen 3 OU, Tyranitar was on 46%, almost half. So that's just how the math was done, in case you were wondering. It's just literally any team, right? How many teams was this person on? So Tyranitar, 46%. So I've constructed this thing manually. It took me a minute to do it, but I'm going to be going through it and rambling pretty much the whole entire video. This is not how strong they are. It's not a tier list. I can't stress that enough. This is just simply what people are using. However, obviously, if it's used a lot more, then perhaps it is a good Pokemon. Although, if this was hypothetically a tier list, there's some things that I will be pointing out that surprised me and I personally am not on board with. So, number 1 is Tyranitar. I could definitely see that. I don't agree with that. Who I think's number 1, but I mean, when you got Sandstream as your ability, you just simply hit the field. You have now, whether you like it or not, you have shaped the meta, whether it's for you or against you. Every single Pokemon here does one of 3 things every single turn. It's either chip healing, it's getting its chip denied, or it's just straight up losing health every single turn. So Tyranitar just simply doing that, of course. I mean, everything has to bend to Tyranitar's will. And just so you know, I'm not really going to talk about too much this video, but I looked at the higher ELO players and what they used in their battles. It's a little bit different than this, but Tyranitar was used even more for them. Tyranitar was like 60%. So the best players actually think Tyranitar is better than the average player. So this is a bit modest on Tyranitar's end. But yeah, number 1 does not really surprise me. On the next level of popularity, we've got from 45 to 30% usage. We have Metagross, Swampert, and Skarmory. That in descending order. So Metagross is the most popular. Metagross had 37%, Swampert 34% usage, and Skarmory 32%. Now, this isn't like crazy, but this did surprise me because I would have guessed, like Tyranitar number 1, that makes sense, but I would have thought for sure Skarmory was number 2. Skarmory is immune to TSS, which is one of the most effective things in the format, Toxic Sand Spikes, and none of those 3 things can hit Skarmory. These 2 are grounded, but however, all 3 of these guys are immune to sand, which kind of makes sense why they're so popular. I mean, Tyranitar is literally everywhere. If you bring some Pokemon that are immune to sand, well, then obviously that's going to give you an edge. And they're pretty easy to use Pokemon, pretty straightforward. You can slap a Choice Band on Metagross and it just destroys everything. I prefer the agility set. Swampert, very flexible. It fits on a bunch of teams. And then Skarmory is just one of the most annoying things known to man. And it is the best spiker. And it's immune to all the TSS strats. So I don't think... I mean, if this was hypothetically a tier list, which it's not, I wouldn't put Metagross number 2. I know some people, they would. I've seen people put Metagross as number 1. I don't agree with that sentiment, but if this was a tier list, I think it would be on the second highest tier, where it is right now. Same thing with like Swampert. I think Skarmory should be higher. Skarmory, insanely annoying. I cannot stress that enough. Now from 30% usage to 25%, which is a much smaller window than the previous 3. We have Salamence, Gengar, and Blissey. Salamence had 29% usage, Gengar was 28%, and Blissey was about 26%. All these Pokemon are weak to sand, so these are basically the best Pokemon in the game that are weak to sand. And, Spikes, Blissey's also weak to that. And Salamence and Blissey are both weak to Toxic, so... we're starting to now feel the pain from passive damage starting now. And Salamence is, It is the most popular Pokemon that is weak to sand. That is just a fact. It's a very good mixed attacker, very good Dragon Dance user. I would say either number 1 or number 2 in terms of Dragon Dance versus Tyranitar, depending on who you ask. That mixed attacker, it might be the best mixed attacker in the game, honestly. So this is a very versatile offensive threat. Very strong, I can see that. Speaking of versatile, we have Gengar, who's one of the most versatile Pokemon in the format. I would say the most after Tyranitar. That guy can just do everything. Dude, I've used Hypnosis Focus Punch on Gengar. That thing don't play around. You can kill Tyranitar and Blissey. And then you have Blissey. I don't even want to talk about Blissey because I hate that thing. Moving on. Now we have Pokemon from a 25 to 20% usage. We got Celebi, Zapdos, Suicune, Snorlax, and Dugtrio. We have some setup Pokemon here. We have a Celebi, Suicune, Snorlax. These guys are all weak to sand. They're all weak to spikes. They're all susceptible to poison. This does not surprise me. Zapdos is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. It is number 9. It's number 9 on this thing. And I could kind of see that. I've seen in the past this thing being much higher, but you have to remember at the time of this recording, Speed Pass has been banned. So that was a reliable strategy for Zapdos. Now it's completely out of its vernacular. You no longer have to worry about that problem. I actually thought Dugtrio would be a little more popular. But yeah, this looks like the setup tier right here. Now we have the 20 to 10% range. We have first Magneton being the most popular. I could see that. I mean, you hop on a showdown battle and you're like, oh, wow, there's a million Skarmories everywhere, huh? I should probably bring something in my toolkit. So that's why this thing, I suspect, is as popular as it is, although it has a lot of shortcomings, but it is the best thing at killing Skarmory, which I've already told you how annoying that thing is. Aerodactyl, if this was like a real tier list, I think this thing should be a little bit higher. I do. It's so fast and so annoying and has Rock Slide to flinch you. Starmie, I've been kind of sleeping on Starmie myself. This thing, I usually, in the past, I would try to use it more defensively, like Thunder Wave, Rapid Spin, Recover, which it's pretty good at. But I've been using the offensive one. And man, this thing has like perfect type coverage and it's very fast. I like it a lot. I would say Claydol is the best Rapid Spinner. If you have Refresh on this thing, it can, 1v1 Skarmory. It has more power points than Skarmory does Spikes and Toxic. If you just have Refresh and Rapid Spin, so that's cool. And then we have Jirachi barely making it in over 10% usage rate, which to me is just like, it makes sense. It's believable. I don't really see Jirachi that much on the ladder, but in terms of power level, I do think Jirachi is significantly stronger than that. I'm talking like about give or take 2 tiers higher than where it is right now. If this was like a real tier list, this would look very, very funky to me. Moving on to 10 to 5% usage. This is basically the weakest OU Pokemon. These guys are pushing, UUBL territory. And we first have Fortress, which makes sense because you have this guy named Skarmory, which basically does your job better than you in most circumstances. But you are a Rapid Spinner, so that's cool. We've got my boy Jolteon here. Very weak to Toxic Sand Spikes, very frail, but it is very, very fast. Heracross. I like Heracross a lot. Charizard, of course. Very good mixed attacker. I don't think it's as good as Salamence, but it does get the job done. No one really talks about it that much, but I do think it does surprisingly well against the big 5. I mean, you got like Sub Focus Punch Tyranitar, dead. You've got Hidden Power Grass, Swampert, dead. Fire Blast, Skarmory, dead. Beat Up or Focus Punch for Blissey, dead. Fire Blast for Gengar, you're not really going to appreciate it. Like, it just has a lot of good type coverage, I think. And then it's worth noting, we have Raikou right here. You know what that means, guys? That means Raikou is the most popular UUBL Pokemon as of last month in OU. This thing is, in fact, more popular than some OU Pokemon. Like, for example, Medicham, who it seems is not as cool as Heracross. We have Gyarados, who... Gyarados is interesting. It's kind of like a Salamence with Dragon Dance. You kind of sidestep the quadruple Ice weakness for a quadruple Electric weakness. But it has some interesting utility. It has like Thunder Wave and Taunt, so... I think it's a little bit underrated, but I could see the usage rate because, you got Salamence right there. Then you got Flygon. As you guys know, whenever I see a Flygon, I panic. I don't think Flygon's that strong, but man, when you see it, dude, it usually brings its friends, if you know what I'm talking about. Oh, one of the friends is coming up soon. Then you got Breloom, a pretty decent lead, although it's kind of awkwardly slow. But it can punch holes in your team. Moltres, not as cool as Charizard, apparently. People don't believe in this thing, but it does have Will-O-Miss. But do you really want to miss all those times? Then you have Registeel. Registeel is the second most popular UUBL Pokemon after Raikou. I could see Raikou being number one. I think Raikou is very, very strong. That thing just shows up late game. And I get it. The meta, it's not best friends with Raikou. You got Doug Trio, Sand Spikes, yada, yada, yada. But it can clean up. Now, Registeel, Registeel, you usually do one of two things. I've tried using the Curse set where you just late game sweep everybody. It's basically a Snorlax. But people, they usually use the Thunderwave Seismic Toss Explosion thing, which I kind of think is better. Because when you use that Curse set like I do, you just seem to get crit a million times over and over again. And then you have barely making 5% usage rate, Milotic, which honestly surprises me. I think this thing would have been more popular, and if this was a real tier list, I think it's a lot stronger because it just has access to recover and refresh. So this thing is, if you're fighting a stall team, it's almost guaranteed that you're going to see the fish scaly serpent thing there. It's not going to be fun. Moving on to the next level, this is basically the most popular UUBL Pokemon. These are certainly viable in OU. And we have Kingdra first, you know, Swift Swim, Rain Dance, Pain, and Agony. We all know that. But what's probably the most interesting thing in this tier is Cloyster. Cloyster is an OU Pokemon. And you've got Raikou, Registeel, and Kingdra all more popular than Cloyster. If you had to ask me if this thing should be OU, UUBL, now obviously my opinion doesn't matter, but I actually would throw it in UUBL. I think Fortress is just kind of better. You have Surf and Ice Beam, but like Fortress also has Rapid Spin Spikes and Explosion, and you're immune to Sand and Toxic, which, as we've talked about, are kind of annoying things that you have to factor in, which Cloyster doesn't really deal with too well. But Fortress has good defense. Well, no, they kind of share like the same defensive merits, really. So, the Cloyster, I think, more on UUBL side. Then you got Regice, who I actually thought would be the least popular one, which it's not. It's Regirock, who's coming up later, who some people would say is... Some people say Regirock's the most popular. But you got to remember, I believe a million years ago, Regice was OU because it was like a special wall. But then they realized, wow, we have this abomination that... I'm not going to say the name of it out loud, but it's the evolved form of Chansey. So let's just use that. You have Blaziken, who I think would be a lot higher if it wasn't for, you know, the sand and all that. In random battles, dude, you can sub down Reversal, Slackberry. It's pain. It doesn't really work very well in OU because of the sand everywhere. Then you got Porygon 2, who I thought would have been slightly higher. This is a cringe Pokemon support. It's got Recover and all that. Hariyama. I think Hariyama is better than it looks like on this list because it has knockoff. I think it's the best knockoff user in the game, which is a very good... So it's not a very, very good move. It's not overpowered, but it's just it's like one of the safest buttons that you can click in the game. I mean, that's kind of rare. Like, nothing's immune to dark. You do some damage, and you get rid of leftovers most of the time. Or, I guess, a choice band or whatever. You pretty much nerf something for free, and Hariyama's tanky enough to survive whatever. Most attacks, so I do like Hariyama. Then you have Smeargle, who I think would have been more popular and stronger in the past. But remember, as I mentioned with Zapdos earlier, Speed Pass has been banned. Although, that hasn't stopped some maniacs out there. I've seen a Belly Drum Baton Passer one before, and that one was not fun for me. Dusclops, you know, Cringe and Agony, Vaporeon, something to kind of stop Suicune, Wish support, blah, blah, blah. Regirock, the least popular Reggie, which kind of surprised me. I would have thought, in my opinion, I would rank it Registeel, Regirock, then Regice. That's just me. Houndoom, Pursuit Trapper. Venusaur, I thought would have been a little bit higher than some of these guys. Venusaur is... okay, it's not a lot faster, but it is faster than Breloom, and it is tankier, so, you know, it can kind of perform its job, but be a bit more beefier than that thing. Breloom's kind of, it's a little bit slower and frailer. Then you got Ludicolo, who I also thought would have been a little bit higher. And then you have Umbreon, barely over 2% usage rate. Don't be fooled, guys. I don't care if people aren't using this thing. This thing, if you don't have the right tools, it's not going to be fun to fight against. But you know what is fun to fight with and not against, Machamp? I've used this myself. You just slap a choice band on this thing and as your lead, and it can just kind of come in and just cross chop and kill a lot of things. It's surprisingly effective. So that's kind of UUBL. Now we have 2 to 1% usage rate. We're starting to actually like officially fall into obscurity, but you can still see these guys every now and then. We have Glalie at the top of this level, which is interesting. That basically makes Glalie technically the most underrated Pokemon in OU because this is an NUBL Pokemon. This thing is ranked very, very low. It's actually the only NUBL Pokemon, which is kind of funny. You just lead with this thing, taunt, Ice Beam, Spikes, Explosion, pretty straightforward. You know, it's for offense. Then you have Alakazam, UUBL. This thing is considerably higher than Espeon, who's all the way down here at the nobody's land. And, you know, Calm Mind. It has Encore, which is pretty good. You can screw over a lot of cringe setup Pokemon and do that. Sceptile, very fast. Sub, Leech Seed. Dragonite doesn't get too much love because it has a Salamence that kind of just performs its job a little bit better. Although Dragonite does learn some cool things like Heal Bell and Thunder Wave. So you could, I guess, try that out. Slacking. I feel like Slacking should be higher. I see this thing more than I'd like to admit and more than I'm comfortable with. This thing is very, very annoyingly strong. It's weird. It's like some kind of like revenge kill thing. It just shows up and just clicks any button and somebody's going to die. Then you have, this one's a big surprise to me, Jinx. I thought Jinx would be way higher. I thought it would be like around where like Regice is. So like a whole like around 4% usage rate higher, which is a bit of a jump when the absolute number is 1 like it is here. I mean, you lead with this thing, it's decently fast. You put something to sleep, hopefully you don't miss. Sub, Calm Mind, Ice Beam, Psychic. It's not bad. Then you got Weezing, which, yeah, I could see that. It's a decent support Pokemon. Marowak. Like I've said before with a couple other people, if this was the past, Marowak, I promise you it'd be higher, but Speed Pass has been banned. So now all Marowak has, it's its bone. It's Thick Club. It just hits the field and it says, hey, I have like 100 speed, go easy on me, but I can hit you really hard, I promise. You just gotta let me hit you first. So that's the thing really holding it back. Scizor, I can't believe Scizor is more popular than Exeggutor. Exeggutor can actually go for Sunny Day and be insanely fast. Scizor is awkwardly slow. I actually thought I'd see Scyther somewhere on this list, but as you can see, as I'm scrolling down, it's nowhere on this list. Scyther's very fast. Scizor, yeah, I guess you could Swords Dance, Baton Pass. You could Swords Dance and get the lucky Omni Boosted Silverwind or something, win the whole battle. Not too reliable. Then you got Exeggutor, who I think should also be higher because it's got Sunny Day, Sleep Powder as well, Psychic, Solar Beam, Giga Drain, Hidden Power, Fire. It's not too bad. Now we are officially fading into Perpetual Darkness from 1 to half of a percentage point. Dawn Fan, I thought it would have been a little bit higher because it's got Rapid Spin and it's got a lot of base defense. Mischievous, I've seen this thing on the defensive Superman teams. It goes for Perish Trap, and it's not very fun. Steelix, don't really ever see that. Articuno, also on defensive Superman teams. It has Roar, Heal Bell, not fun. Arcanine's a UU Pokemon, so, you know, I guess that's impressive. It has, you know, some utility, Intimidate, Toxic, Rest, whatever. Camerupt can blow you up and go for Fire Blast, Earthquake. This thing actually, it's insanely hard, but it's just got really bad typing. Lapras, another water absorb dude. Gardevoir. I actually lost to a Gardevoir in the tournament, if you guys remember that. I don't really want to talk about it, though. Armaldo, I'm surprised it's this high, actually. I think I've seen like 1 last month. It like hit me with a knockoff. I was like, huh, that tickled. Speaking of knockoff being really annoying, Sableye, I would say it's the second best knockoff user after Hariyama. This thing, well, I mean, according to the math, it looks like nobody's using this thing, but it feels like a lot of people are using this thing. I see this thing a lot on stall teams. Knockoff, recover. You kind of just have to be there to experience the pain and agony. And it's got 3 immunities too, of psychic, normal, and fighting. I mean, the worst thing about it is it's stinky stats, but just trust me. If you come unprepared and you don't really do much damage, Sableye just slowly eats you alive. It's very annoying. I've seen a Rain Dance Electro with Thunder. I'm not making that up. Bayonet, the only physical attacking dude that can take advantage of Stab Shadow Ball. Blastoise, I'm surprised is this high. Linoon, I actually was using Linoon. A Belly Drum Linoon. It's not too bad, although it does require some support. Ninjask, once again, we've talked about it. Look at that. It's actually lower than all the other Speed Pass Cringe Lords, but this was the original Speed Pass Cringe Lord. Look how it's fallen. Now all you can really do is just slap a choice ban on this thing. As far as I know, I guess you could go for Swords Dance, but I don't think I've battled one yet since it got banned. And then you, funny enough, have the 2 cow creatures. You got a bull cow thing, and I don't really know what you'd want to do with it. Slap a choice ban on this one. I saw somebody one time belly drum baton pass to the Miltank, and then they forfeited. I don't know why. Not much left to talk about. This is basically the Shadow Realm. This is 0.5 to 1/4% usage rate. Shedinja's at the very top. Tweaked to Toxic Sand Spike, so bro just dies instantly. Dodrio, UUBL, it's all the way down here. Some of these guys are UUBL, and they're in fact lower than like Lapras and stuff that are not even like UUBL. So that's interesting. I think Bayonet's RU. Entei, poor thing, gets destroyed by the meta. Typhlosion, same thing, a grounded fire type that is not really that fast. Espeon I thought would be higher because it has Calm Mind and Baton Pass. It's kind of like Alakazam, but I guess Alakazam's more liked because it has Encore. I think they prefer that over Espeon, and they would just use Celebi's Calm Mind Baton Pass over Espeon. Same thing with Lunatone. Lunatone, not too popular around here, but it does have Levitate, so it's immune to Sand Spikes, and it can Calm Mind Baton Pass. But I think Lunatone would have some potential sometimes, depending on the context. Lantern, whatever, Rhydon, UUBL. I'm surprised it's UUBL. I think it's just very, very slow. 4 times weak to grass, water, not a good time. I've seen Hitmonlee. There's some Hitmonlee believers out there. I am not one of them. You got Crobat. I've tried Crobat before. I used it on Halloween. Don't let me fool you. I did go with it, but I don't think it's good. Jumpluff is cringe. I'm not going to talk about you. Ursaring is too slow. Quagsire, I thought Quagsire for the longest time could get recovered. It does not. It only gets rest. It gets recovered in later generations. Nidoking, I don't know, it just does damage. Walrein, I would just pick Lapras. Cradilly, though, I think Cradilly should also be higher along with Espeon. This thing is pretty hard to kill. If this thing were to hypothetically get some Baton Pass help, well, with them suction cups, it's not a fun Pokemon to fight. So I think that's kind of under the radar. Roselia kind of impresses me. It is a spiker. I think Roselia is very good in random battles. I don't think I've ever seen one in OU. Aggron, they did that guy dirty. I still can't get over that. This thing came out like 20 years ago. I'm still mad. Like, it looks like a pseudo legendary, but it's not. It's not even close. Solrock is not as cool as Lunatone. Pikachu is higher than Raichu, if you can even believe it. Amistar, you know, it's fast with Rain Dance. I actually have battled a Rapidash before with like Toxic Sub because it's fast and it's immune to fire. I don't know. It did okay against me. Tentacool, Slowbro. What's the point of using Slowbro when you got Suicune? Shiftry can blow up. I guess that's pretty cool. Granbull's kind of like Ursaring. Swellow, I thought it'd be faster, but I mean, yeah, I guess the meta is pretty against its favor. So then that just leaves some unranked Pokemon. And as you can see, we have 3 UUBL Pokemon right here. Chansey, Kadabra, and Zangoose that didn't even get used, like, at all. Which is interesting to me because you guys, I'm sure you all remember Pain and Agony. Well, I think as dumb as it is, people forget that Chansey is still one of the best special defensive walls. So I think... I know nobody used it, but in terms of a power ranking, I think it should be somewhere on that list. Like, probably around, like, this area, give or take. I mean, you still got Blissey. Kadabra, of course, bro's got no shot. I don't even know why Kadabra is UUBL. Alakazam is literally UUBL. And then you got Zangoose, which, kind of like these normal types, it hits very hard, but it's kind of like an awkward speed tier, and it needs Swords Dance and stuff. And then that's basically it with all these dudes. There's no one else. If your Pokemon was not ranked, it was below a 0.25% usage rate, it is basically completely irrelevant and you will never ever see it. Let me know what you guys think about these usage numbers. I've already kind of said my piece, but I'd say the most noteworthy takeaways from me is I think Skarmory is way more annoying than it looks, and it's very strong. I really hate Blissey. I think Jirachi is very, very slept on. It's the 17th most used Pokemon on this list. I think it should be higher. Then you have Raikou, who is the most popular UUBL Pokemon, and it's more popular than 7 OU Pokemon, and one of those OU Pokemon is in like UUBL territory. So perhaps a switcheroo is in order, don't you guys think? And just throwing that out there, throwing out that possibility. So that's all for me, folks. I'm going to go get some chicken flavored ramen noodles. Fish.